What is up? Riley Leonard calling in from the great state of Indiana. Riley, thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you for having me. Obviously, everybody knows Sports Spectrum, huge Christian faith platform. So I see yourself on Instagram, things like that. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, Riley, thank you for being bold in your faith because it's been fun for our Sports Spectrum team to get to highlight college athletes and pro athletes and everyone really who is talking about Jesus. But I'd love to talk about football and your next steps with the Indianapolis Colts. But more importantly, I do have to ask you and say congratulations because I saw that you recently got engaged and proposed to your fiance, Molly. So how did that go down?
Yeah. Well, Molly and we've been together for 8.5 years now. We started dating freshman year of high school, and she's just been everything you could ever ask for in a partner, and a friend, and now in a fiance, and in the future in a wife. But she's just been my biggest supporter throughout my whole journey. Obviously, she was with me whenever I was really a nobody, and always just stuck with me. She was actually the first person to take me to church too. So my freshman year, she brought me to church, and that's actually the same church we're gonna get married at back in Fairhope, Alabama. So she's the best. She deserves even more attention than I get because she's a better person in every aspect of life than me.
Is amazing, and shout out to Molly for bringing you to church. Let's go. That's pretty awesome. I do love asking my girlfriends who have been engaged, like, oh, how did it go down? But I think it's even more fun to know from the guy, hey, like, what detail were you most concerned about? So, what was the big thing in your
Oh
head for that
man.
moment?
All right, so like I don't want to take up too much time, but so much went wrong in the engagement itself. I'll start with I started planning it during the combine, which was the worst thing you could have
That's like the
done.
most stressful
But
time
like
ever.
I was just determined. I was like, all right, boom, we're getting the ring. So I talked with my agency there. We hook up a ring in a situation like that. Anyways, the plan was to do it in Italy, which sounds great, right? It sounds great, but we get there. Um, it's literally like a 10-minute story, but so much went wrong. The first day I'm supposed to do it then, the car gets hailed on. The second day, the boat driver cancels on me. That's taking us to the destination. The third day, the destination cancels on us. So the fourth day, we're like, okay, we're going to this destination D at this point. We get on the boat to take us to destination D. I get a text from people I'm setting it up with. Destination D cancels on us. So we go to destination E at this point. We pull up to destination E, and destination E people understand that there's a proposal going on, but they don't understand that we're the boat. Oh my gosh, I went so far out. We went to destination E. Molly didn't know why we were at destination E. The boat driver said, hey, we're going to destination E because the boat's broken down. Destination E comes down and says, Mr. Leonard, Mrs. Walding, welcome to dinner. She's like, who are these people? We're not supposed to be here. How do you know our name? He points to the corner. In the corner, there's a man practicing photography on the hotel people who are practicing
No,
a proposal.
no
So
way.
we look up and we're like, what are they doing? So they lead us over there. We get off the boat. We're not supposed to be there. She's looking at the boat captain who's got his hand behind his back smiling because he understands the situation. Anyways, so much went wrong and I'm missing so many details. But anyways, we got it done and it's very memorable. Like I think I put too much pressure on myself to do the whole proposal and like try to make it so extravagant where it all collapsed on me. But I mean, it makes for a better story.
It's a
But
great story, and by the way that you described her, I'm sure she was totally cool with it. But man, you had like A, B, C, D, E, five backup plans. That's impressive, and I
yeah.
think that's definitely something to note just with the intentionality. But congratulations to you and her. Very excited for you guys. But would love to just ask you about football and this big transition that you've had from college to the NFL. So what has maybe stuck out to you from the difference in those leagues?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of differences, especially coming from a place like Notre Dame. It's a smaller school, and Duke was too whenever I was there. But Notre Dame's a smaller Catholic school who, I think the spiritual side it kind of is the foundation of the school, and it's small, so you're really just around your football players all the time. You're always just hanging out in the locker room, right? There's not much to do. You just hang out in the locker room, hang out with each other. And then you get to the league, and it's like, all right, everybody goes back to their families, and you're kind of stuck as a rookie. Like, man, I kind of miss that fellowship sometimes, because that's when like the best teams and best relationships are built, are just like hanging around extra hours in the locker room, goofing off. Um, but I think that's probably the biggest difference for sure.
You're not going to the dining hall, right? Like you have your cafeteria in the facility and you're getting food that way, but just different, right? And late nights in the dorms together. But I'd love to just ask you about that, right? Because you used to be the older guy on the team, maybe pouring into the rookies, and now like you're the youngest guy. So what have you maybe learned from some of the veterans on your team so far?
Man, on and off the field, there are so many different guys to pick from. You hear stories and you see on TV a lot whenever you watch games, and you see the frustration amongst different teams on the sidelines, guys throwing helmets, guys not playing hard. I mean, it seems like the most unselfish team ever. You look at our receiver group, who, all receivers, they want the ball. This team, go watch the way Michael Pittman and these guys are blocking on Sundays. I mean, it's really something special, and that goes for the whole team. There's really not many selfish guys at all. So I think I'm in a hospitable place that's really just team oriented, which is really special, and it stems from the top down, from Coach Steichen to the coordinators, and to Daniel Jones, the starting quarterback. I mean, it doesn't get more humble than Daniel. So he's a great guy to learn from.
And you guys, your team has really been the surprise of the NFL so far this season. I don't think anybody was counting you to have the success as early as you did, and how fun that must be so far. What is it like in the locker room in the NFL after a win?
It's interesting, because in college, I was fortunate to play on, I had a lot of wins. So I never really went through the NFL, like the losing in the NFL. To me, it's like, respectfully, like you go to a game, you expect to win. And I kind of still have that same mindset, because it's just kind of what my teams have done in the past, not because of me, but because we've been on good teams. Been on good teams, but I think it's still fun. Like, everybody just sits back and celebrates. Yeah, I said everybody goes home after practices and stuff, but I think in general we're still a very close team. Like tonight, we're going over to Pittman's house to watch Monday Night Football. We do quarterback receiver dinners on Thursday and stuff like that. So it's fun. I mean, winning's fun no matter the league.
Yeah, and I do have to ask you, you mentioned him earlier, Daniel Jones, and just how well he's played so far this season. What have you taken specifically from him, now being able to watch an older quarterback and lead this team?
I mean, Daniel will like never get the credit he deserves, because he never makes his actions like seen unless they have to be. But when I tell you he's the first one in the building every single day and the last one to leave, like, everybody in the organization knows that and like will attest to that. Like, his work ethic is unreal. I was able to, go over to his house a few times, and like, he's just always watching film and like just drawing up plays. Like, that's what he does, and he just does it all the time. I try to help him prepare before games and things like that. And if you say like the first two words of the play, he will immediately tell you the rest of the play. Or you could be like, "Hey, in the red zone from the 10 to the 15-yard line, what are the four plays that we have? List all four. Hey, on 3rd and 7 to 10, what are the four plays?" Word for word. He's just dialed. And it's really cool to see.
And I bet just so helpful too for you to know and to come in your first year in the league, and to have that standard, right? And to know like what you're able to do, right? Because like sometimes if you don't see it, you might not know that like you should be doing that, or that is a possibility, or that is a way to prepare, even just in your process. So I love that you're able to learn from him in that way. And just as a young QB, you're gonna grow so much and develop so much throughout your time on the field. But I'd love to know just a little bit about off the field. How are you hoping in putting effort into developing into your faith in this next chapter of your life outside of college?
Yeah, I think one thing that's kind of stood out to me throughout, social media and things like that are a lot of the times you guys will interview people, and we probably come off as people who are so established in our faith and better than everyone else because we've had a faith for longer and we're outspoken about it. Well, I kind of have the mindset of, look, like only 23 years old now. I'm very I'm just now kind of getting my feet wet, um, in the whole in faith and in Christ. And I've been a Christian for like 7 years now, but I still have so much room to grow. And it's kind of a double paradox where I'm trying to spread the word to every single person I get into touch with, but be humble enough to grow myself in my faith as well. So I've been trying to find a stable church here, and I've found two that I really enjoy, and then a community as well. So fortunately, we had Bible study today, so we do Bible studies on Mondays, and then the day before the game we also have chapel, which both of those things have been really good for myself and the team. But I'm really interested in growing my faith in more ways. Like every single chance I can, I want to learn, and I'm very hungry to grow in my faith in every aspect.
It's awesome. And it's cool to see you take, investing in your faith community at Notre Dame because I know I was able to develop a friendship with Sway Valia, your team chaplain. I think his official name is like spiritual advisor. And just cool to see how you're carrying that over now into your NFL life, right? Because it is really important. And I know from my personal experience, like when I'm able to have a connection on like a faith level with a teammate, it like completely transcends my relationship with them even on the field because I know so much more and have that deeper relationship with them.
Absolutely, I could not agree more. Like it's hard to describe going out on the field with a Christian brother and knowing that if we play the worst game of our life, the worst game ever, we can hang our head on the fact that we're saved. Like we won. Jesus won. We're all good. And I think a common misconception is to have that mindset and to be soft. Um, but in Romans it says if you're gonna run a race, run to win. Like I think it's a misconception. Like Jesus was a savage. Like he was a extreme competitor, would walk through the darkest valleys with the mindset of change and just a dog mentality, so to speak, in the football world. And I think that's something that I try to, and a lot of the Christians in general try to bring into the football field. Just go out there and lay it all on the line for him.
I've never heard anyone describe Jesus in that way, but I love it. And I think it's an incredible perspective to have on him. And just like, working your hardest at what you've been given the opportunity you have just to compete on the field, right? Like taking that attitude in it as well. And I do want to touch on what you said a little bit earlier, just about, you see these athletes, talk about Jesus in front of the mic, or even what I do with Sports Spectrum and on the podcast, or, you might post something on social media and it might be talking about your faith. And in no way does that, if you're genuine about it, in no way does that mean, hey, I have it all figured out. Like, I know everything in the Bible. I, have all the answers to the test of life. Like, no, it actually really means, like, and what you're saying is, I am dependent on the Lord through this win. I'm dependent on the Lord through this loss. And you're really just calling him out and saying, like, this is goodness that I'm attracted to and I want to share with people because it is such good news. Like you said, that, it transcends any hardship or loss that you're going to face on the sports field.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And I think it's also important to point out right now that, like, I feel like Christians in general, there's a fire lit underneath us, to go and spread the word. I do encourage people, however, one thing my pastor told me, we were talking about this week, was like the people that I'm speaking to right now, right? It's a large Christian audience that Sports Spectrum has, and I think a lot of Christians right now are getting into the churches, which is great, right? But my pastor brought up to me, if Jesus was here right now, after everything that's been going on the last couple of weeks, would he be in a church, or would he be in the crowds of evil, so to speak, trying to heal them? Is he going to the one black sheep who needs more help than anybody? Are those the people he's next to? So that's just something I've learned, is like, it's so easy and comforting for me to speak to a Christian audience. But is that hypocritical for me to say I want to live like Jesus but not go speak to the one black sheep? Um, so anybody watching this, I encourage you to go to a non-believer and spread the word. It's very comforting right now to get to church um, with other believers.
So good. And I think it also will like test your own faith, right? Like, how much am I willing to defend what I believe in, right? Like, how much am I willing to be bold and unashamed? Because it's really easy to be unashamed in your faith when you're at church or around believers or, people who are like minded with you. And I also think just something that I've, realized in my own life is there's been, trials that have come up in job, life, family, all those things. And it's really been, okay, well, am I going to do what I say I believe? Like, I say that I believe this, but like, am I actually going to live it out? Am I
Yeah.
going to just trust in the Lord, right? Like, not have worries. And you can worry, obviously, but not like dwell in it and sit in that. So I just love that and great encouragement and wisdom for people. Hey, y'all, it's AB. We're going to take a quick break in today's episode because we have a really cool opportunity for you guys to get involved with Operation Christmas Child this year. You can help pack a shoebox filled with toys, school supplies, personal care items that will go directly to children in need and help share the good news of Jesus Christ. This year, Operation Christmas Child is hoping to collect shoebox gifts to reach another 12 million children. The National Collection Week is November 17th through the 24th, or you can actually build a shoebox online. Visit SamaritansPurse.org/OCC to learn more. Let's make this a memorable Christmas and be a joy giver. But I do want to talk a little bit about your college days, and I have to go back. I want to ask you about Notre Dame, but I have to go back to your days at Duke because I remember seeing this video of you, and you were asking a teacher for an extension, and I'm like, I've been there as an athlete. I'm like, I know what that feels like. You just played a game. You're like, man, like I can't, like next thing, I can't even think about school right now. So what happened? Like, did it work out? What
Yeah.
ended up happening with that?
So that's a great question. Great question, and probably one of the most commonly asked questions to this date. It's not the national championship. It's not any of that. Did you get the extension? So what happened was I actually got the date wrong. We played on a Monday, and the interview was set at like 12:05 a.m. because it was a late game. I thought the assignment was due at 12 at night. The assignment was due the following day at 12 midday. So I found that out after the interview, right? I looked up the assignment and I said, okay, I'm gonna wake up in the
But you're like,
morning.
I got enough going on. I don't even know when this thing's due.
That's what I'm saying. So I wake up in the morning. I say, okay, I got time. I do the assignment. I write the paper. Boom. So I did it on time. I get to class, and then this school asks the professor to pull out a statement. Professor says, hey, Riley, no extension, as a joke. It didn't really sound like he was joking in the video, so a lot of people didn't get that.
It didn't. It
Anyway,
didn't. Yeah.
so he was like, anyways, a lot of people hate comments, love comments, whatever it was, ended up turning to, I think, everybody in the class having the paper deleted. So my O-line, not to call them out, my football buddies who didn't do the paper loved it. But
Not
other
the O
people that
line. Come on.
not the well, he said the O-line did it, but in reality, anyways, those who did do the paper were not the biggest fans of me after that week.
Hey, it's all good. I did see like the teacher response, but I was like, how did that end up going down, right? Because I didn't know the full story too. I always thought that was funny, and I think I think why people ask you about it because it's super relatable, right? Regardless of whether you play a sport or not, you're like, man, can we please get that extension? I love that, so I definitely wanted to ask you about that. But I do just want to talk a little bit more about when you get to Notre Dame because I actually didn't know that you were still recovering from an ankle surgery and I think you had turf toe when you get there. And I think a lot of athletes, might struggle when you need to be the leader on your team or you need to be the senior captain or whatever it is, and maybe you're sidelined due to injury or something else. How did you handle really, stepping into that leadership position, taking command of your team, establishing yourself as someone who can really lead your team while also not being able to like fight on the field with them through just like workouts?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the toughest questions to answer. My first day there, I showed up on a wheelchair after my first surgery on my left toe. Little did I know, the first day I got there, they were going to tell me I needed another surgery on my right ankle that I hurt 3 months before that and thought was okay. So I got that surgery done. There goes 2 more months. And then a month after I was recovered, like the first day I was going to be back, they said I needed another surgery on my ankle. So that put me out a total of like 7 months, which was probably one of the hardest things, I've ever been through. Um, and I think the biggest way to answer that question is it was terrible. Like, it was not fun period of my life. Um, it was really tough for me. But I think the biggest thing that you need to learn is, like, there is no secret. Um, one of my coaches at the time or something brought it to me, the Kung Fu Panda. You got like the
Yeah.
scroll and there's nothing in there. It's like
Yeah.
there's no one sentence or word you can say to get through this other than having such a strong foundation in your faith that each day you wake up with a positive attitude, whether you want to go in and for treatment and want to lead this team or not, you do it anyway because you have that fire underneath you to be the best version of you and this team. I think when you have the mindset of I need to improve myself, like that'll only get you so far. But when you say I need to get back for this team and for others, that gives you a lot more motivation and you have a lot more responsibility to push yourself to get back on the field than for selfish reasons, I think.
That is so good. And thank you just for sharing that because I think a lot of times it's easy to come on podcasts or interviews and be like, oh, I did X, Y, and Z and it was great. And you're just like, yeah, it's hard. And like, I'm keep thinking of the guy from Kung Fu Panda. I don't even know what his name is, but the little creature
Uh,
next to, I
yeah,
don't know. I got all the character animations going on in my head right now. But I love that you were able to, like, that's how you're kind of summing it up, right? And really leaning on the firm foundation and two, outside of just the face side of it, I think about off-season workouts. And when you're at home and you're alone and you're not with your team, like, are you training hard so that your team can do well when the season comes? Or are you kind of slacking off and then you're going to take the whole month of your fall ball or your preseason to then you ramp up? Like, that's always been a way
right,
that I've visualized, like, your individual hard work really having effect on your team. Like, how fast is it? How fast can we get to where we need to go so that we can just stop worrying about conditioning and we can get to the playbook, right?
right, right.
So I love that you touched on that and just the hard too of injury. But I do want to talk a little bit just about that incredible run that you had with Notre Dame, getting to the national championship. Incredible. And I know it wasn't the outcome that you wanted. And I know the pain. I've lost 2 national championships back to back, actually. And so the pain still hurts 100%. But I think something that I can see the Lord in through it was that, and the good in it is that because I went through it with God, I'm like, oh, I see how he was working there, and I see how he was working there. And now when I think about like the hardship of not having that outcome come the way I wanted to, I'm able to see what the Lord was doing in it. And so I know it's a quick turnaround, but just for you personally, how have you really reflected on that national championship loss and it not going the way that you probably wanted it to?
Yeah, tough one. Tough one there. Definitely think about it every day. And I think the human side of you is like, oh, how much better would my life be right now if we won? Luckily, JT is on our team. He played for Ohio State. Um, I'm able to see kind of his perspective every day when we get in, and it kind of makes me realize, like, we live the same life. We're still going through the same struggles. He struggles just like I do. Sometimes you tell yourself, "Oh, we won that national championship. Like, I would never struggle a day in my life."
Yeah.
Like, what are you taught? What are we doing right now?
Yeah.
It was cool to see the face side of the thing. In during that game, I wrote on my hand Proverbs 27:17, iron sharpens iron, as one man sharpens another, and I kind of talked about that after the game, but I think that's very true. I kind of left that game with a little bit of fulfillment, knowing that Ohio State was a team of faith, and you know they won the game outright. They were a great team, and happy to see them using that platform or their platform to glorify Christ. But the human side of me, probably every other hour, is thinking about hypothetical situations if we won that game, which was 3 hours of my life 9 months ago. Like, realistically, like, come on, man, like, get over it. But I just don't know
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
ever truly will, but
Yeah. You don't, and I don't think you need to. Like, you don't need to fully get over it. But your perspective and how you view it will always be constantly changing. And you'll see, oh, that's so cool. Like, that actually was terrible in the moment, but look at what God did through it, and how he's used it for me. And I think, too, going back to what you said, like, if you hadn't had the mindset and the mentality of, hey, even though I might be sidelined right now, I'm still going to come and like work as hard as I can to whatever rehab I'm doing, even if it's a band with my toe, like the stupid thing like that, I'm going to do it so that my team can get to this game and have the success that you guys were able to have. And just an incredible opportunity, too. Like, so few people get to do that. So just congrats on your success there. But I do want to know, just looking back at your time at Notre Dame, do you have a standout memory or something that makes you smile when you think of it?
oh, um, I don't know if there's one in particular, but I know it has nothing to do with anything on the field. That's for sure. When I think about my time at Notre Dame, it's literally in the locker room playing ping pong or, sitting down with the fellas, going to the offensive line house after a game around a bonfire. Um, I think Notre Dame's a place where every single person on the team you can have deep and real conversations with. Like the conversations we had in that locker room were like, you would never even envision a conversation going that far amongst, 18 to 22-year-old men. It's such a special place, and I think that's driven, from the top down again. Like Coach Freeman, you can't even like describe the man he texts me all the time. And if I have a suggestion or like a quote, I'll send it to him, then he'll show the team like a couple hours later. He is an amazing person. He knows like all the janitors' names. He's visiting children's hospitals, and a lot of this stuff is unknown, because it's not like he's doing it for show. A lot of people, oh, Coach Freeman, yeah, like he's, a prominent figure, but he's such a down to earth person who is just so rooted, in so many different aspects of his life.
It's cool to hear, just like you noticing these people in your organization, whether you're in college or even just with the Colts, like, and picking little things up from them, and watching people who you're like, hey, I like how they do life. I like how they do life, because I think it's really easy to just kind of go with the flow and do what everybody else is doing.
Right.
But you're noticing the people that are making an impact on you, and really are different. And it's cool to see you reference Coach Freeman and just his impact.
Appreciate
Yeah.
you noticing that.
That's awesome. Well, I'd love to know, just because I have a lot of young cousins and my brother's a college football quarterback. So, what advice maybe would you give to a young high school or college quarterback on how to maybe? I know your job is really hard, so we'll focus in on just like the rebounds of, you had a bad play, you throw an interception, you have a fumble, you go
Yeah.
three and out constantly, constantly, constantly. Like, what advice would you give them to have a response as a quarterback?
It's a great question, and I got a perfect guy to answer that. He's up on the wall here, but Peyton Manning. All right, Peyton Manning, I think, had I could be wrong, most interceptions ever as a rookie quarterback. Um, and after the season, he was asked, you know, what were you doing wrong? And his response was, I was giving the defense too much credit. I think that's a perspective that every single quarterback needs to have, because a lot of times you can sit back there, with the ball on the 20-yard line and have 80 yards to go and say, hey, how are we going to drive 80 yards on these guys? These guys are really good. Well, when you switch that perspective to these guys have to stop us for 3 straight plays before we punt, they have to be perfect on 3 straight plays over and over and over again. That makes it, different for a quarterback and a different mindset. Like these guys, everybody says it. They put their shoes on just like we put our shoes on. Don't give them too much credit. They have to stop you. It's kind of just been my mindset, especially now that I'm in the NFL. All right, yeah, these guys are more talented. So are our receivers. Like the level, yeah, the defense is. How much faster is the defense? Yeah, they're faster. So is the offense. Like they got to stop us. I think that's a good perspective to have.
It is, and it's kind of going back to the dog mentality you talked about Jesus having, so I
Yes.
love it. But Riley, I'll ask you one last question because I know you're in the thick of your season, and I know I'm sure you have a lot going on. But I lived in Indiana for 3 years, and contrary to popular belief, loved the food that they had. I was a big Broad Ripple girl down by Butler University. A lot of places I like down there. What has been your go-to spot in Indianapolis?
Great question. There are so many options. Indianapolis, you would never think is like, I think is voted like best city to live in, or at least like the northern side of the city was voted like best cities to live in the country the past few years, and it's absolutely right. My favorite spot, it's on a farm, Traders Point Creamery. They get their food right from the cows in the farm, make their own ice cream. It's incredible. Great date spot. My girlfriend and I, my fiance and I went last week. It was great.
So good. I can vouch for that. Well, Riley, thank you so much for taking the time to talk today. We're so excited to cheer you on in your next journey with the Colts and cheering the Colts on in Indiana. And just thank you for sharing your heart.
Thank you so much for having me. Jesus bless.